Hello my friends, today I am gonna compare two of the most popular lenses in the micro four thirds ecosystem, the Panasonic 12-35 f2.8 and the Olympus 12-40 f2.8. The Olympus 12-40mm is a small and light, non-stabilized standard zoom lens with a constant f2.8 focal ratio that's designed for micro four thirds cameras. It offers a 24-80 equivalent range, is dust, splash and freeze-proof, and uses a manual focus clutch with proper distance markings. There is a function button on the lens whose function can be customized from the camera. The construction quality is fantastic, it feels great in the hand and a hood is included. The price of the lens is pretty steep, starting from 875 euros in the Greek market. The Panasonic 12-35mm on the other hand is not equally good quality-wise. It feels a bit plasticky, nonetheless it gets the job done. It is an f2.8 micro four thirds lens with a hood included and is also dust and splash resistant. Unfortunately, the focus is electronically controlled and there is no proper manual clutch. However, the lens has image stabilization, something which can be really useful when mounted on cameras such as the Panasonic GH5S. The price is very high, starting from 998 euros. Let's first take a look on the stabilization factor. In this first test, I tried to walk with the 12-40mm lens set at 12mm and with the stabilization of the body turned off. As you can see, things are pretty ugly. It's as if I am shooting Blair Witch Project. When, however, I turn the system on, the situation is turned upside down. The footage is very smooth, even though I am walking on a rough terrain. Panasonic 12-35 gives similar results when Dual IS is turned on. The video produced is smooth. When I turn the system off, footage is very shaky and I would say unusable. Now let's see a more realistic approach to this test. After all, if I want to film something walking, I'm gonna use a Steadicam. If I try hand-holding the cameras with the stabilization disabled and the focal range set at maximum values of 35 and 40mm respectively, the amount of shake is apparent and the footage looks jerky. When the system is enabled, the video is very smooth, but let's not forget that only 12-35 has image stabilization. Olympus can only be stabilized on bodies with 5 axes, so I would give an edge to Panasonic. One of the most important features of a lens is how sharp it is and also how much vignetting and distortion it has. Images on the left side are shot with the 12-35 and the ones on the right with the 12-40. At 12mm and f2.8, the Panasonic lens has more distortion and vignetting than the Olympus. As far as it concerns sharpening, both lenses are equally sharp in the middle of the frame and Olympus is a smidge sharper in the corners. Vignetting reduces dramatically when we set the aperture at f4 for both rivals. Distortion is still much more prominent for Panasonic. The two lenses resolve the same amount of detail in the center of the image and Olympus is still a bit sharper at the edges. At f5.6, I think they perform optimally. Vignetting is almost eliminated, distortion is still apparent in Panasonic's image, but only in low levels. Maybe 12-35 is a little sharper in the middle part of the photo and Olympus better in the corners. At f8, things look almost the same. Now let's see if these two bad boys are parfocal. A parfocal lens is a lens that stays in focus when magnification or focal length is changed. I first focused on the logo of the camera EM1 and started to zoom in and out from 12-35mm and vice versa. It is very clear that focus is not retained while we zoom in. Same goes for the Olympus. You have to look at cinema lenses if you want such a feature. For example, Tokina 16-28 T380X is a true parfocal lens with reduced breathing and image shift. Next stop is autofocus performance. I set both cameras in single point AF and tried to move sequentially from object to object. 12-35 is doing a good job having a smooth transition of focus. However, sometimes the AF struggles when the lens is trying to focus on the yellow object, and that is because of the contrast detect system of the sensor. On top of that, there is a pulsating effect that is obvious on the bokeh balls in the background. They keep on changing size while autofocus is trying to adjust. The performance of the Olympus lens is worse than the one of its rival. Sometimes it really has a hard time on finding focus, and when it does, it seems like back focusing a bit. Also, the transition from point to point is not that smooth and is kind of abrupt. I then tested the continuous autofocus of the lenses. I put CAF on the camera and face detection in the options menu. The result is what I expected. As we all know, Panasonic and Olympus have contrast detect autofocus, which doesn't perform well in tracking moving subjects. The focus is sometimes on my face, but only for a few seconds. It suddenly tries to focus on the background, and when I get out of frame and come back in, it takes many seconds to acquire focus. If you want to have a decent continuous AF, you have to look elsewhere. Canon with dual pixel AF and Sony do a much better job. Another important aspect of a lens is focus breathing. It refers to the shift in angle of view that often occurs when you focus a lens. The Olympus lens suffers a lot from this problem. It is very apparent when you look at the edge of the frame. Notice the change of the magnification close to the tree trunk when I pull focus from the tree to the camera. Panasonic also has the same problem, but to a less extent. If you want to avoid this issue, try to use cinema lenses for your projects. Flaring is another hot topic when we talk about lenses. The 12-40, when set at f11, produces video with good amount of contrast and flaring is well controlled, albeit having blue color light spheres. This phenomenon is also apparent in Panasonic's footage, yet it is less pronounced. Finally, let's see a few images taken with both lenses. That was all for today, my dear friends. Do not take my comparison for granted. Try to use as many sources as possible so as to draw safe conclusions. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel in order to get the latest updates. I wish everyone a joyful summer and I will see you in the next video.